Ferrari have found themselves in some unknown waters after the pre-season testing in Bahrain, and it seems like the Maranello team will be showcasing a lot more performance than we could have anticipated in the first race in Melbourne. The rivals have raised their suspicions, as there are multiple reports from Red Bull and McLaren that the Prancing Horse has hidden their car to a greater extent compared to them. And with this in mind, can we see a Ferrari with an incremental improvement compared to where they were in Bahrain? There is no doubt that the Bahrain pre-season test could have gone much better for Ferrari, but the fact that everyone was satisfied with the performance of the car and it showed exactly what needed to be shown was a perfect example that the team knows much more than we do. This is the primary source of concern for McLaren, who said that they don't trust Ferrari at all when it comes to the Bahrain data. And if you were to look at the statements from Vasseur, you could understand why the rivals of Ferrari are having their reservations about the performance of the Prancing Horse. The Frenchman has been quite adamant that there are lots of variables on the table, but the most important thing is that they didn't go to Bahrain to show any type of performance whatsoever. They did it so that they can see whether the data gained from the simulator is going to match the on-track results they'll receive with the SF25. The fact that the result of this was positive goes to show that the entirety of the concept is working wonders. And if you add the fact that Bahrain is a rear-end limited circuit, which doesn't really suit the newly concepted Ferrari, you'll get an answer as to why everyone is worried there is more in the bag. When talking about the gains that the SF25 made over the winter and how they were implemented on the car's performance in Bahrain, Vasseur has gone on to say, with the suspension change, we have opened a new door for development, because after a few years there was a need to differentiate something, and I think we have all done it. So far it is working well. I am not talking in terms of results, but in terms of numbers. Everything is going in the right direction. Are we in the fight for victory in Melbourne? Honestly, I think it's too preliminary, also because the conditions here in Bahrain were for once so extreme that it's difficult to have a clear picture of the situation. But from one session to another, the situation changes a lot. We don't know the fuel level of the others. It becomes very difficult to interpret everything. What is very interesting here is that his optimism is not shared at a precise level with Leclerc, who warns that the stability of the car needs to be worked on and that the last 2 days of pre-season testing have shown a lot of volatility about the car. Yep, Leclerc has gone through thick and thin in the past couple of months with Ferrari, and you would understand his cautious approach to the new season, but nevertheless, when push comes to shove, he knows that until he sees that car delivering top-notch performance on the circuit when it matters the most, then he can't comment only positively about it. Elaborating further on his feelings about the car and sharing yet another cautiously optimistic approach, Leclerc said, "I would prefer to wait before going out on a limb to say whether the car is fast. We will only see in Melbourne where we are. We will have everything in the best conditions to try to extract the best from the car. During the tests, we struggled a bit more with the balance." The number one reason why Ferrari will be looking to bank in huge points in Melbourne is not just because they have trust in their drivers, but also because of the nature of the track. This is a circuit that is much more front limited compared to Bahrain, and with the adoption of the new front pull rod suspension, the SF25's mechanics will be much more adapted to these types of circuits on the calendar. This is not the sole goal of the team, far from it. They are also aiming at widening the operating window of the car to a greater extent so that the mechanics will be able to make the drivers more comfortable when certain conditions or track circumstances are not going in their way. A lot of this would have to do with the new rear wing, which has a more pronounced spoon, and it will definitely be vaguely used on medium load circuits on the calendar. And to say that the goal for Ferrari is to win it all is definitely an understatement. Just look at how confident they sound when they have Hamilton talking about the prospects of the team. Everyone is looking at Lewis, and rightfully so. The man has been treated horrifyingly wrong in Mercedes, and after that poor stint, he is finally in a car capable of winning races and fighting for the championship. The only thing now is that he has a very competitive teammate in Leclerc, and there is no doubt that the Monegasque driver will push to a greater extent to score what he feels is rightfully his, the championship. It will be interesting to see how Vasseur is going to handle two alpha males like Hamilton and Leclerc, and not only is he not backing down from the challenge, but he's actually embracing it fully. When talking about this management process that should be a much bigger trouble than we could have imagined once the visors go down, Vasseur said that he would much rather have drivers who will fight at the front than at the back of the grid, something he might regret a bit further down the line if things go horribly wrong. strong. To top that off, Ferrari are not stopping here. They are now under a 3-day simulator work in Maranello when it comes to the SF25's behaviour in Melbourne, as the goal is loud and clear: win from day one and never look back. The optimism is brewing in the background, and you can understand why the drivers and the team are feeling the urge to prove to the Tifosi that this is finally going to be their year without any obstacles being met from their side. This is a mission that they've been trying to achieve for a very long period of time, and now that they finally have the machinery for it, the team has a very interesting dilemma: who is going to be their lead driver? It was expected to be Leclerc given his experience with Ferrari, but the adaptation process of Hamilton has gone a bit smoother than any of us could have maybe predicted, which is why he is now at the very centre of attention ahead of the Melbourne debut. The deficits that were talked about during Ferrari's TPC are now all gone, and we're talking about fine margins between Leclerc and Hamilton, which should be seen in Australia. And the comments from the 7-time world champion are much more encouraging than the ones from Leclerc. Elaborating on his personal feel with the car and how it's responding to his input, Lewis said, "It's a bit early to say, but I am really enjoying the car. We are slowly bonding. We are testing a bunch of things, so I am not doing setup changes or directing where I want the car to go. We are just going through the motions. I got to explore a bit of my interaction with my engineer. So far, I really enjoy driving this car. At the moment, there is still room to explore more, and I am just bit by bit eking out a little bit more each time. The car likes to be driven differently, and that is a really fun journey, but at the moment it feels that we definitely feel the car underneath me. I feel that the car is responding to my inputs. Today was a positive day, and making those incremental steps with the setup felt right. There is, however, some more work to do." So with all of the cautious optimism that is currently present in Ferrari, there is nothing that we can do but sit and wait and see whether they've hidden more performance than the rest of their rivals. Of course, a pivotal talking point will be the rear wing of the car, something that is subject to a review thanks to Red Bull's technical director Pierre Wash, who added that this is going to be an ongoing problem throughout the entirety of the season if the FIA doesn't do anything about it. The governing body replied with a swift action, installing rear wing cameras that will monitor any type of flexing from Melbourne onwards, similar to what they did with the front wing flexing saga last year from Spa onwards. With all this in mind, do you think the Ferrari have sandbagged a bit more performance than usual? And if so, do you think they have a legitimate chance to fight for both of the championships, like they say, from day one? Let us know in the comments below, and if you want to know more about the FIA's investigation regarding Ferrari and McLaren's rear wing flexing seen in Bahrain, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.